Hey fellow travelers, it's been a while but I'm back, and with a good reason. Over the past several months I've been heads down working on something incredibly important, something I believe will raise the bar on how we approach travel safety. But before I share that news, let's talk about the question at hand. Is it safe to travel to Cuba right now? Cuba, the land of vintage cars, colonial architecture, infectious music, and turquoise beaches. It's long been a dream destination for travelers looking to step back in time. But if you've been following the news, you know that this Caribbean island has been facing some serious challenges, economically, socially, and politically. That brings us to a critical and timely question. Is it really safe to travel to Cuba for 2026? I've spent almost 30 years traveling the globe, working in some of the most high-risk environments in industrial safety and risk management. From mines in the Arctic to oil fields in South America, I've assessed safety from every angle. And now, I'm channeling that same experience into the travel world. My mission is simple: to help you see the world safely. So let's dig into Cuba, because while the mojitos are still cold and the music is still hot, there's more to the story than what's in the brochures. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Cuba's economy is still in a state of prolonged crisis. The government continues to face international sanctions, most notably from the United States, and the pandemic delivered a devastating blow to Cuba's already fragile infrastructure. Supply shortages have become routine, with everyday items like bread, fuel, and even medicine becoming harder to find, particularly outside of Havana and the main tourist zones. This matters to travelers more than you might think. When a country struggles to meet the basic needs of its own people, the tourism sector becomes both a lifeline and a lightning rod. On the one hand, tourism dollars help support the local economy. On the other, the disparities between the tourist bubble and daily Cuban life can create tension, especially when resources are scarce. In 2023 and 2024, Global Affairs Canada elevated its travel advisory to caution travelers about increased petty crime, fuel shortages, and unpredictable conditions. The US State Department, the UK's FCDO, and Australia's DFAT have all echoed similar concerns in their advisories. While they still consider Cuba a Level 2 or exercise increased caution destination, each government has noted ongoing unrest and logistical challenges that tourists should be prepared for. Travelers heading to Cuba now need to prepare for an experience that's more rugged than refined. Yes, the beaches are still beautiful. And yes, Havana's charm is still undeniable, but the cracks are more visible than ever. Tourists report longer wait times for food and transport, unpredictable electricity and water outages, and difficulty exchanging money due to shifting currency rules. Perhaps the most telling sign is that many Cubans themselves, especially those in the service sector, are expressing increasing levels of frustration and fatigue. Many are overworked, underpaid, and navigating a system that seems to be buckling under its own weight. While most Cubans are still warm, welcoming, and proud of their country, travelers should understand that behind the smiles lies a country in survival mode. This means that your resort experience may not resemble the glossy travel ads you saw on social media. Some all-inclusives are struggling to maintain previous standards. Food and beverage offerings can be limited. In some areas, clean drinking water is hard to come by, even in hotels. So, if you're planning a trip to Cuba, expect beauty, yes, but also expect challenge. While Cuba has long been considered one of the safer Caribbean nations in terms of violent crime, the economic desperation of recent years has led to an increase in petty theft, scams, and opportunistic crime, particularly in Havana, Santiago de Cuba, and resort-adjacent neighborhoods. Tourists have reported being overcharged, pickpocketed, or misled in currency exchanges. Police presence is visible, but enforcement is often limited, and the justice system is notoriously opaque. Visitors should be cautious in crowded areas like Old Havana, Vedado, and El Malecón, especially at night. Areas that were once filled with vibrant nightlife are now a mixed bag. Some are lively and secure, while others are shadows of their former selves. Public intoxication can make you an easy target, and solo travelers should exercise a higher degree of vigilance. In addition, cyber scams and digital fraud are on the rise. Fake Wi-Fi networks, cloned SIM cards, and social engineering tactics have emerged, especially as more travelers rely on mobile apps and digital transactions. Consider traveling with a VPN and keeping backups of all key travel documents offline. Now let's touch on the political climate. The Cuban government continues to maintain tight control over the population, and dissent is not tolerated. While tourists are rarely targeted for political reasons, there have been instances where foreigners inadvertently found themselves in hot water after discussing sensitive topics or photographing protests or government buildings. In 2021 and 2022, massive anti-government protests broke out over poor living conditions and restrictions. Since then, the surveillance state has only become more watchful. Keep your conversations respectful and avoid engaging in political debates with locals, no matter how friendly they may seem. What feels like casual conversation could put someone else at risk. On the racial and social front, there's also nuance. While Cuba promotes an image of racial harmony, there are underlying tensions. Afro-Cubans have spoken out about disparities in access to tourism-related jobs and income. LGBTQ+ travelers will generally find Cuba to be safer than many other Latin American countries. But expressions of affection may still draw attention or disapproval outside of urban or resort areas. Transportation in Cuba is a quite mixed experience. Classic American cars are iconic, but unreliable. Taxis are loosely regulated. Some are government-run, while others are informal private operations with no meter and no safety inspections. Public buses are overcrowded and often break down. Fuel shortages mean long lines at gas stations, delays, and even cancellations of internal flights in intercity buses. If you plan to rent a vehicle, be prepared for poor road conditions, confusing signage, and sporadic GPS service. Accidents are more common than people realize, and roadside assistance is minimal outside major cities. Healthcare in Cuba is often romanticized, but the reality for tourists is complex. While some hospitals in Havana are reasonably equipped to handle minor issues, facilities outside the capital may lack basic supplies, medications, and even running water. In a medical emergency, you may need to be evacuated to another country for treatment. Make sure you have comprehensive travel health insurance and know where the international clinics are located. Food safety is another consideration. With the rise in food scarcity and rolling blackouts, food hygiene is not always guaranteed. Travelers have reported gastrointestinal issues after eating street food or even meals at resort buffets. Drink only bottled water, avoid raw vegetables, and be cautious with seafood that may not have been properly refrigerated. If you've never been to Cuba before, it's important to understand the dual currency system, or what's left of it. Cuba used to operate with two official currencies, one for locals and one for tourists. That system has been officially eliminated, but in practice there's still a two-tiered economy. Tourists are expected to pay more for goods and services, and there are often different prices for locals and foreigners. This can create confusion, frustration, and at times, conflict. Some travelers report feeling like they're kept in a tourist bubble, where you're shown a sanitized version of the country, while the reality is much harder. That can be a jarring realization, and it's part of why tensions around tourism have grown. Cuban citizens are seeing tourists arrive with backpacks full of goods, Western spending power, and the ability to leave whenever they want, all while they struggle to buy basic groceries. It's not hard to see how resentment can grow, even among an otherwise gracious population. So, is it safe? Here's the reality. Cuba is still a very remarkable destination, but it is also a destination facing enormous challenges. Safety isn't just about avoiding pickpockets or knowing which streets to walk down. It's about understanding the broader landscape, from economic instability to public health readiness, from political undercurrents to basic infrastructure. If you're an experienced traveler, willing to stay informed, be patient, make smart decisions, and travel responsibly, Cuba can be navigated safely. But if you're looking for a stress-free beach vacation with zero complications, you may want to consider other options in the region until things stabilize further. Before I go, I want to share some exciting news. The reason I've been quiet on YouTube lately is because I've been building something behind the scenes, a new global training initiative called the Certified Travel Safety Advisor, CTSA program. This is the first ever professional certification specifically designed to give travel advisors the tools, frameworks, and knowledge to advise their clients on safety, risk, and resilience, at the same level we use in industrial safety sectors. Whether you're a solo advisor, a travel agency team member, or an industry partner, CTSA will give you the confidence to lead in a world where safety is more important than ever. We're officially launching in late November 2025, and I can't wait to share more. We'll be covering destination risk analysis, personal safety protocols, crisis response planning, and even modules on how to evaluate cruise ports, all-inclusives, and group travel. And yes, we'll have a few surprise bonus tools and resources for our early CTSA participants, but I'll save that special announcement for a future video. So, if you're a travel advisor watching this, stay tuned. And if you're a traveler just looking to make smart, safe choices, you're in the right place. This channel is for you. Until next time, travel far, travel smart, and stay safe.